Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Singing a song, da 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 da, da 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 da, Winter Wonderland. Yes, it is a winter wonderland. Actually, it's fairly warm here in the Shire today. And, you know, I don't really do Christmas per se. Like, I don't celebrate the way typical Americans do. Although, what is a typical American, right? Well, let me first begin by reminding you that, yes, you are listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, and I'm doing a Christmas special. And again, like I said to begin the show, I don't necessarily celebrate Christmas like a typical American does. But again, what exactly is a typical American? How does a typical American celebrate Christmas, and what do typical Americans believe about Christmas? Well, luckily, there are people that get paid to ask those questions, and then they compile those numbers and they deliver them to us, and I'm sharing them with you. And actually, I love the headline here, just because, you know, so many people have talked about how horrible 2016 has been. In episode 400, I even mentioned that 2016 will go down in history as the year that shall not be named. Like, I honestly believe that in, you know, like 100 years, 120 years, something like that, people will just sort of gloss over the year 2016 just because it's been, you know, that kind of a year. So the headline here from Public Policy Polling: 2016 made us lose our belief in Santa. And this is their yearly sort of Christmas edition survey. Let me delve into what they have written as their summary, and then I'll actually jump into some of the questions, because some of these are just so fascinating. And yeah, so let me just jump into this. When Public Policy Polling did a poll on the holidays immediately following the 2012 election, 52% of Americans said they believed in Santa. So keep that number in mind. 52% of Americans that were surveyed 4 years ago believed in Santa. At that same time, 4 years ago, 45% of those surveyed said they did not believe in Santa. You do the math, and you see that that means about 3% of Americans aren't really sure. Well, they re-upped the question this year in the wake of the presidential election, and belief in Santa has gone all the way down to 31%, with those who don't believe in Santa climbing to 59%. And again, you do the numbers. 59 plus 31 is 90, so 10% aren't sure. And it's not even just Democrats dispirited about the results of the election who have lost their faith in Santa. Republicans have also lost their faith in Santa, going from 52% 4 years ago to 34% now. Democrats, 55% 4 years ago, believed in Santa, now only 32%. And independent voters, and by independent voters, they also include libertarians and Green Party and constitutionalists and communists and all other varieties of not Republican, not Democrat. 4 years ago, 47% of self-described independents, or those lumped into that category, said they believed in Santa. Now it's only 27%. The author, or rather the president of Public Policy Polling, Dean Debnam, says it doesn't matter whether you voted for Hillary or Donald, everyone is feeling a little bit less hope and joy after this year. A majority of Republicans may not believe in Santa, but if he does exist, they know one thing: Santa's white. Yes, that's right. So people that don't believe in Santa necessarily are certain that he's a white guy. Republican voters nationwide by a margin of 54-6 say that Santa is white, with 41% saying they're not sure. 57% of Democrats have no opinion on what ethnicity Santa is, but 26% say he's white and 18% say he's not. Now, let's move on to something else, the question on everybody's mind, naughty list or nice list. Well, Americans are pretty confident that they're on Santa's nice list, with 70% believing that they've earned that distinction. Only 8% of people responded said that they are fairly certain they're on the naughty list. They're not so confident in the gift prospects for their president-elect, with only 35% of voters saying that Donald Trump made the nice list, 47% who say Donald's on the naughty list. And what about the so controversial Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas? Well, it's something that Trump voters get a whole lot more worked up about than Democrats. Only 5% of people who say that they voted for Hillary Clinton say that they're offended by the phrase Merry Christmas, compared to 19%. That's almost 1 in 5 people that voted for Donald Trump who say that they are offended when someone says Happy Holidays. Me, I don't really care. There are so many holidays that happen around this time of year. And I know you might be thinking, well, there's Christmas and there's Hanukkah. Well, there's also Kwanzaa, and there's Yule, and there's the solstice, and there's Saturnalia, and then there are ones that I don't even remember. But there are a lot of holidays that happen, so I don't care one way or another. Say Happy Christmas, say Merry Holidays, say Happy Kwanzaa, say Happy Hanukkah, Joyous Festivus, whatever. I don't care. Just whatever you believe in as far as holidays, just say that to people. I generally just say Happy Holidays because I don't want to presume that somebody celebrates a certain holiday, because I really don't know. Meanwhile, 63% of Hillary voters say they don't care about the Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas, with only 23% preferring Merry Christmas, 14% preferring Happy Holidays, whereas with Republicans, it's overwhelming. They like Merry Christmas.
Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account, or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, the Christmas special. What do people think about Christmas? Well, luckily, public policy polling asked, and they reported, and now I'm delivering that information to you. Only 34%, well, before I tell you what the 34% is here, there's a claim by some people that there's a war on Christmas. And Tom Knapp actually wrote about the supposed war on Christmas on his blog, the Napster blog. That's KNAPPSTER, napster.blogspot.com. And he said that, if people think that there's a war on Christmas, And they look at that as a bad thing because, oh no, Christmas is going to go away. Starbucks is not putting Merry Christmas or Jesus on their cups. Well, okay, shouldn't you be happy about the war on Christmas? And this is, Tom's argument here, and I have to agree with his logic. To where, look at the war on drugs. It's wound up giving us more drugs and harder drugs. Look at the war on poverty. It's wound up giving us more poverty. The war on terror has given us more terror. So whenever there's a war on something, then you generally wind up having more of the thing. So if there's a war on Christmas, wouldn't you want that war to actually be legitimate and be waged so that you wind up with more Christmas? Well, apparently 34% of Americans say that there is a war on Christmas. 51% say there's not. That's down from 3 years ago when 41% said that there was a war on Christmas and 47% did not. Public policy polling says that the war on Christmas is one that we're actually winning. Now, what do Republicans think about the war on Christmas? Well, they say, or rather they found, that 60% of people who admittedly voted for Trump say that there is a war on Christmas. 25% say there's not. In fact, 24% of Trump voters say that the war on Christmas concerns them more. Listen to this carefully. Almost 1 in 4 people that voted for Donald Trump say that the war on Christmas is more concerning than a possible war with China. An actual war with bombs and people dying is less concerning to 1 in 4 people that voted for Donald Trump than the mythical war on Christmas, because how dare Starbucks not say Jesus on their coffee cups? Much has been made of the economic anxiety driving the support of Trump voters this year. So here's one final data point on economic anxiety for the year. While Clinton voters view the holiday Kwanzaa favorably by a 62 to 5% margin, Trump voters are evenly divided, 30% each. If having a negative opinion of Kwanzaa doesn't spell economic anxiety, the author of this says, I don't know what does. Overall, Kwanzaa comes in with a 47% favorability rating compared to 18% with an unfavorable opinion, compared to 91% favorability for Christmas and 75% for Hanukkah. Now, let me jump into some of these other questions that they have. Again, they ask people about, the happy holiday, Merry Christmas thing, but overall, it was pretty evenly split between the people that say they prefer Merry Christmas and the people that say it doesn't make a difference. 45% prefer Merry Christmas, 9% prefer Happy Holidays, 46% say they don't care. Mark me up in that 46% category. As far as grandma getting run over by a reindeer, and yes, this is an actual question. If I were making stuff up, I never would have been able to come up with this one. So they asked people, if your grandmother got run over by a reindeer, would you open her gifts or send them back? See, this is not where I thought they were going. I thought they were going to say, if your grandmother got run over by a reindeer, would you still believe in Santa? Because that's the actual line from the song. It's, grandma got run over by a reindeer, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Some would say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe. So, see, that's where I thought they were going. But nope, they say, would you open the gifts? 40% of people responded that they would open Grandma's gifts. 30% said they'd send them back, and 31% said they're not sure. And by not sure here, they don't mean the mythical president I think he ultimately became president in Idiocracy. And no, I'm not giving a damn spoiler warning. The movie's been out for almost a decade. And if you don't get the reference, well, go watch the movie. The next question here, favorable or unfavorable opinion of It's a Wonderful Life, a movie that I've never actually seen. But I do know that it stars Jimmy Stewart. And I used to live not too terribly far from Jimmy Stewart Airport. 73% of Americans have a favorable opinion of It's a Wonderful Life. 5% don't like it. 22% don't really have an opinion. We already covered how many people believe in Santa, how many people think they're on the naughty list versus the nice list. Then they asked people in the election for president, did you vote for Democrat Hillary Clinton, Republican Donald Trump, Libertarian Gary Johnson, Green Party candidate Jill Stein, or someone else? And these numbers kind of pretty much match what the actual vote returns were, where 48% said Hillary, 46% said Donald. Gary Johnson got 3 in the actual voting and 3% in this poll as well. Jill Stein at 1. And someone else at about 2%. And then they asked the makeup of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and others. They actually polled a little bit more Democrats here. 46% of people polled were Democrats, 33% Republicans, 21% were either independent or other. And then they break down even further. So you can look, and I will post the full results, all 21 pages of results in the show notes. You can look to see how many people that voted for Gary Johnson have a favorable opinion of Christmas, or how many people that voted for Jill Stein believe that they're on the naughty list or the nice list. And actually, I'll go ahead and tell you, 3% of Stein voters say they're on the naughty list. No Gary Johnson voters claim to be on the naughty list. 74% of Johnson voters say they're on the nice list, and the other 26% say they're not sure. Let's go from, the what people believe about Christmas to the more commercialized aspect, because, well, that's kind of what a lot of people think the holiday is about, right? Stay tuned. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Changing gears just a little bit from how many people believe in Santa, how many people celebrate Christmas, and I never really did explain what I think a typical American, or how a typical American celebrates Christmas. What I always think of is you put up a tree, you throw a bunch of lights and some ornaments on it, and then you throw presents up under for, your kid, your spouse, your, whoever comes over to your house. And no, I didn't mean to rhyme that, but, it is what it is. But, like putting up lights and trees and stuff is how I think of as celebrating Christmas. I don't do that. I've not put a tree up in a long time, but I do enjoy giving gifts to people. And, this is kind of a excuse, right? It's an excuse to give somebody a gift. But really, if you want to give somebody a gift, just give them a gift. Although if you, hand somebody a box of something that's wrapped in wrapping paper in the middle of August and say their birthday's in March, they'll be like, what's this? Well, just a gift. Well, what kind of gift? A birthday gift? You would have given that to me in March. You're really late. No, it's just a gift. Oh, so a Christmas present? You're 5 months early. No, it's just a gift. So Christmas is really an excuse, the way I see it, is an excuse for people to give each other gifts. And some people expect gifts from others. And we had a discussion a couple nights ago on Free Talk Live about this, to where, a lot of times children will expect certain things from either their parents or their aunts and uncles or their grandparents or whomever. So the over-commercialization, the materialism aspect of the holiday, I don't like. But again, I love just the excuse for giving somebody a gift. But how much do people wind up spending on gifts? Well, again, there was a survey done, and apparently it's less now than it was 17 years ago. It's less now than it was 16 years ago. It's up slightly from what it was 2 years ago, but down from last year, and definitely up a good bit from 2008. Now, you might be remembering in 2008, that's when the recession started, so it only makes sense that it would be up from then. But I'll jump into these numbers from Gallup. They actually did the survey back in November to measure upcoming holiday shopping that is concluding right about now, and found that the average spending on Christmas gifts would be $752 for the year. Now, when you exclude the people that say they're not spending anything, then it goes up just a little bit. But this number, 752, is down from the $830 that people spent on average last year, but it matches the average over the last 7 years since 2010. Since 2010, the first full year after the end of the 07 to 09 recession, Americans' November holiday spending estimate has averaged $751 with little variation. The high was $830 recorded last year. The low was $704 in 2013. And according to the latest poll conducted again in November, from November 9th through the 13th, 30% of Americans, so almost 1 in 3 American adults, expect to spend over $1,000 on Christmas presents. On the other end of the spectrum, 23%, so just under 1 in 4, say that they will spend less than $250, while about a third plan to spend somewhere in between those levels, and roughly 1 in 11 Americans, 9%, say they don't celebrate Christmas at all and won't be spending anything. Now, I would probably fall into the 23% category. I've definitely spent less than $250, and while I don't necessarily celebrate Christmas, I have bought a couple people some stuff. I sent out cards to a bunch of people. So, I do some of the Christmassy stuff, but, I don't celebrate the holiday, if that makes any sense. Now, jumping into this a little bit deeper, they say, when one excludes from calculation those who are not purchasing any gifts, and look only at the people that are making purchases, the average U.S. consumer plans to spend $831 this year. Now, again, the average overall is about $752, again, for the average adult on Christmas gifts. You exclude the 9% who say that they're not buying anything, and that number jumps up to $831. The latest findings, they say, are statistically similar to Gallup's initial measure of 2016 holiday spending plans conducted in October. At that time, Americans planned on spending on average $785 on Christmas gifts. The stability in the November figure is notable in that they were collected in the first few days after the presidential election, at a time when Americans were expressing heightened confidence in the economy. However, that has not translated into an increase in holiday spending plans. Now, what's going to be interesting here, and this is me pausing from the article, what's going to be interesting is when they finally, sometime in January, look to see how much was actually spent, to see if that corresponds fairly closely to the numbers in this survey. And apparently, they are fairly accurate. I'll explain here in the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, the Christmas special, online at fppradio.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
Hi, I'm Nick Hazelton from the Anarcho-Yakutalism podcast, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Now, if you need to do some last-minute shopping, and this would actually be last-minute shopping, but you want to buy stuff from Amazon because you might still be able to get Saturday delivery if you order, like, right now. If you're listening to this, later on Friday or on Saturday itself, well, yeah, you're not getting, Saturday delivery if you order on Saturday. But, get an after Christmas special something because stuff goes on sale then. Well, help me out by starting your Amazon shopping at shop.fppradio.com and then clicking the Amazon link. And there's links to other affiliates that I have, but the Amazon, it's the one that might be easiest for you to where, you're probably going to shop on Amazon anyway because most people do, right? So just start that out at shop.fppradio.com, and that's something that I definitely don't promote enough. So what are the implications here? Well, Gallup says that Americans' current holiday spending intentions offer a relatively positive signal for U.S. retailers. Gallup's analysis of the relationship between Americans' prior holiday spending intentions and actual U.S. holiday sales, as calculated for each year by the National Retail Federation, suggests that 2016 retail holiday sales will most likely increase by about 3% over 2015, but that would not be as strong a performance as the 5 to 6% increase seen before the Great Recession, but at least matches the average in recent years. So what they're saying here is that while spending is going to increase this year, it's not going to increase by as much as it has in previous years. Now, if this were a government budget, they would talk about the spending cut. There was a drop in spending because it didn't increase by as much. And that's one reason that I like, looking at markets, because then you can see, oh, wait a second. No, it increased, just not by as much as previous increases. So it's still an increase. But with governments, they're like, oh, it didn't increase by as much, so we had a budget cut. No, you didn't have a budget cut. Budget cut would be that your budget went down. So if last year you spent $700 and this year you spent $690, that would be a budget cut. If last year you spent $700 and this year you spent $710, that would be, you've got it, a budget increase. And as always, the link to this will be in the show notes. And I'll be back on Monday. Don't forget, the contest ends this weekend. So listen for those Easter eggs in episode 400 from last week. I'll be back Monday with the winner. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.